have this client whose purpose in coming basically is that she hasn't been able for years and years and years to do her music. As a girl, she was wonderfully creative and recognized and everything else. And then something happened. They got her to learn the regular stuff. And ever since they got her to learn the regular stuff, she hasn't done it. She hasn't been able to do it. And now as an adult, a middle-aged person, she's super unable to do it. And that's her complaint.
Music. She can't.
Yeah, and she will berate herself about this. And I always get, as a therapist, discouraged by this external, I went home and I had all this time, and wouldn't you think I would try to do, and I didn't, and I'll do anything else, and this kind of stuff.
Yes.
I see you recognize.
Yes.
And somehow my job is to hear from the inside some way. This berating from the outside won't get us very far. And the other thing I typically don't like so much is, but I go with, is reports of events. So she comes in and she knows all that. She comes in and she sits a while quietly, and then she says, well, I better get work out of the way. Meaning, implicitly, I know you're not so excited about that, and I also know that I'm going to spend half the hour just telling about, but somehow I can't get it out of the way unless I do this.
Yes, I have to tell you this.
And there again, one way of talking about the implicit is it's always there. It's like there's so few words between two people who know each other well, like a therapist and a patient, that they know that they know that they know that they know without knowing being explicit, without not only it not said, but not even thought separately. It's like you just understand, oh yeah, right. So it was like that.
She has all this knowing of you and what you...
And herself, in a sense. And all the criticism about how I waste the time and all that stuff she didn't say and I didn't think. We just knew. Okay, so then she tells me this longish story, the upshot of which is that she's very disappointed in this young guy who's worked for her for a year. She's in a sort of middle-range position in the company. Because she's been pushing him and she's been championing him and defending him and trying to get him a better salary and a better position. And just because he didn't, something happened, he was very unpleasant with her, and she saw a side of him that she didn't know he had. And I don't remember what I said, but I said something like it hurt, or you were disappointed, or something or other. And then typically for me I would have said, you felt it, didn't you? Or you felt it here, or where did you feel it? Or can you feel it in your body? But I don't remember saying that, but somehow, and I don't know how, she's got her hands over her heart and she's saying, it's here. So then it was important to me to see if I couldn't keep her here instead of going back up there and attacking herself. And I said something, I don't know what, and she said, well, I can be the same with him from now on, but it won't be quite the same. And then I knew to say, oh, here it will be different, you know. Something here will be closed that was open before. And that was right. And she said a little about, I'm very often open here. Just when I sit down with my instrument, I'm not. Which again, implicitly, we're always working on that, of course. So then I felt that we were hearing from the inside place. I said, oh, it's just like with this guy, with the instrument, it can't open, something like that. And I think I also said, I'm glad we're hearing from it, saying that I can't open. under those conditions, under those circumstances. What would it take to be able to open? And she said something about, well, feeling some kind of loving all around. And I'm not sure how she said that, but the phrase that sticks in my mind is, then I could open in response. And so to me that's a good example here of what arises from underneath this has this different quality to it. So then my way is when we're there, then I want to keep us there. So then I would slowly sit back. Oh, if you can be in response, it can open. And I don't know how I said it back, but I'm sure I said it back 3 times. And from there, more comes always in these little steps. So then the next thing I heard was, there's so much fear there with the instrument. Oh, I said, yeah, right, there's fear there. And it's not that we didn't know for several months upstairs that she's scared some way. We said that. But it's very different to say, you know, what am I afraid of? Am I afraid of ridicule? Am I afraid of not performing properly? I must be afraid of something, is very familiar. It's very different to say, oh, there's so much fear there.
She was sensing it right then.
Yes, yes. And then after a while she said, and so much sadness. And then after a while she said, oh, I think I'm afraid of the sadness. Which I took to mean of it being too much to stand sort of washing in or something, but whether that's right or not. These are very much examples. And again, upstairs as psychologists, we find it easy to say, oh, the fear might be of the sadness, or the sadness might be because of what you missed because of the fear, or the fear might be of judgment, and the sadness. But I can always think of 12 or 14 things up there in terms of categories. Whereas from down here, it's like, oh, and it had in it, I think, oh, I think the fears of the sadness. So then I would, in such a situation, emphasize that we're hearing from it. And because I can't say, we're glad we're hearing from it, because I'm not sure she is.
Yeah.
I say, I'm glad we're hearing from it, which I am. And I'm glad it's speaking to us, and it's saying, with that much fear and sadness, I can't open. But if I had something like loving around me, then I could. And I say it in that kind of tone, very quietly, like you don't want to disturb something. And I don't know if that indicates, but at least to sum up, I want to say, in any given moment, for any given individual, the implicit is a different place than what you say from up here. It's a genuinely different system in that sense. And hearing from it, even if the content is the same as what you said upstairs, it's very different, and it has different possibilities. And among the possibilities is always the life forward possibility. There's always and again, any words I use are just words, so you have to feel with me what I'm trying to say here with my hands, sort of. It always wants to live. And no matter how angry it is and how self-destructive it talks and how everything else, there's always the life forwardness. Just like if you hold your breath, it always wants to inhale and exhale. And so there is always going to be something that will take us further in the life direction. And the other things that come, well, we have to acknowledge them. We have to say, oh yes, that's right. Here's all that sadness, and here's the fear, And yeah, but we're hearing from it saying if I had something around me, I could open. That's all she said, but implicit in it is I would want to, or it would want to, or it says it would like to.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
She is opening in the moment.
Oh yes.
As
Oh yeah. This is your point. Now go ahead and make it more. I know you.
Well, my point that in your tone, in your surround,
Yes.
there is that love.
Yes.
And she is opening.
Yes.
Because she is responding.
Yes.
And the two of you together are responding.
That's right. To me, relationality to me is in the implicit. So implicit in here is our relationship. Implicit in here is that to some extent, I think a very real extent, she is being surrounded by a lover.
Yes.
And that probably helped that come and say, if I were, I would.
Mm-hmm.
But that's already a meta-analysis to me. What's important is to live the relationship, not so much to talk about it.